consultant with the Lifecycle Institute. Today we're going to talk about one of my biggest responsibilities at Lifecycle, course development. A few virtual housekeeping issues. Please send all technical related issues to the Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen. We're going to use the chat window for comments and responses during the session. I would love to get a little more information about who my audience is out there. So I'm going to open up a whiteboard for all of you to use the annotation tools to let me know more about who's online. You'll see the group bio, as I like to call it, whiteboard is separated into 3 sections. I'd like you to know, where are you, what city and state are you in, what is your job title, and what interests you about course development, maybe why you decided to register for this webinar today. You can answer these questions by selecting the T icon on the top of your screen. Choose a place on the whiteboard in the section to type, and then make sure that when you finish your response, you actually click the mouse. No one will be able to see your responses before you click the mouse out. So it'll take a few minutes to get some responses there. Wow, great. Looks like we have a pretty varied audience out there today. Some training coordinators, some learning specialists, engineers, customer service coordinator. That's great. A lot of these people are either, looks like our audience is either sending people to training or making decisions about training at their company. Wow, I'm developing several courses a month in my current position. Oh, you and I need to talk. Going to be developing a course? Great. Well, then I hope that this session is going to give you some helpful hints, open up some new ideas for you maybe about your current course design process or about what kind of approach you want to take with new projects. All right. Well, I'm getting a really good picture of who is out there. I'm just going to allow a few more seconds, and then we will go back to the presentation. My office offers this. That might be another Lifecycle person. Hey there, Lifecycle person. All right, let's go back to the presentation now. I'm glad to have so many different people online. I hope that we will get a lot of participation in this session. The word agile is used frequently these days. Companies need to be agile, and project teams need to produce results faster and be more flexible in response to market needs. I wanted to take a closer look at agile development methodologies and then determine how we can and do at Lifecycle employ some agile approaches to a course development process to speed development, and hopefully share some of those experiences with you. So this is our agenda for how to accomplish that. We're going to have an overview about agile development as it results to software and how those concepts parallel course development. What is attractive about the agile approach? We're going to actually talk about the 12 principles of agile development and then what to look for in a course development partner, or I'd like to expand that as what to look for if you're trying to decide on a course development team. Agile development is a group of software development methodologies that encourage frequent inspection and adaptation, teamwork and accountability, and engineering best practices. These are intended to allow rapid delivery of high-quality software and a business approach that aligns development with customer needs and goals. I took that definition and read it verbatim from Wikipedia, but I thought if you revise the definition slightly, replace anywhere where I said software with course and anywhere I said engineering with learning, you can come up with a desirable definition for agile course development approach. Let's take this a step further and consider the Agile Manifesto. Just take a second to read the manifesto. let's think of it in the context of course development. A widely used course development process is ADDIE, ADDIE, which stands for Analyze, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluate. In order to meet the needs of our clients, and as someone in our group bio mentioned, they actually have to develop several courses in the span of a month. The Institute uses an accelerated ADDIE development process that I notice inherently incorporates several Agile principles. But why are we looking at Agile methods now? What are the benefits of embracing an Agile influenced approach? The market demands that we deliver a quality product that can easily be revised or repurposed. The benefits of Agile method is that courses are developed more quickly, and busy subject matter experts applaud this element. There's less cumbersome documentation, which allows for simpler, quicker reviews. Flexibility with changes keeps the content relevant and allows you to adapt to the needs of the learners. And there is a possibility of better innovation. Let me share a story with you. I began a course development project for a major Fortune 500 company where the development team was focused on applying a document-laden, rigid design and development approach with many levels of approval needed. After one full week of sitting in a room with 6 people focused on the course, the team had still not determined the learning objectives, what people were supposed to do differently after the training. They were so focused on process that they neglected developing and delivering a working product. We actually disengaged from the project because we first saw the project staggering in development and risking loss of funding or an obsolete final course product. The learning objectives are the foundation of any course. So I'd like to ask a question of the audience. For this response, we're actually going to be entering our responses on the slides. I'd like for you to use the check mark, if you can find it. There is a shape tool with the other annotation tools on the top of your screen. If you click the drop-down box, you'll find a little check mark. I'd like to know, what do you think the most appropriate answer to this question is? How many hours does a course developer work to design 1 hour of classroom instruction? Okay, seeing a couple of responses come in. Looks like so far we've got a lot of folks who think 5 to 7 hours of design for one class hour. And a lot, the yellow is a little hard to see, but I can still see it, a lot of the C. What I will say is that from our perspective, the Institute usually estimates course development time at about 10 to 20 hours of design time for 1 hour of classroom time. Now, of course, this number varies depending on the amount of reusable content, SME access, a variety of other factors. This is also classroom-based instruction, and development time for a computer-based program or computer-based training is a whole different ballgame. What this means is that even in a rapid design environment, a lot of time is spent crafting a product that will produce results. A course development, like software development, needs to have a working process that drives out excess and focuses on the course and the client's objectives. So far, we've gone over what Agile development is and why it's attractive. Now let's take a look at the 12 principles of Agile development, how to apply them to course development, and how they can help you determine what to look for when choosing a course development partner or a team. Not surprisingly, 6 out of the 12 principles of Agile development focus on the product, and 6 focused on the people, the project team involved in development. Let's first take a look at the principles that focus on product. One way we ensure client value and buy-in early in the course design is by defining and publishing a course summary. The course summary tells the learning objectives, main activities, and the content flow, the flow of the content. The learning objectives define the behaviors that learners will exhibit, hopefully, as a result of the class. How will these new behaviors impact the business results? What's the connections? Clients want to know this up front. Now, I've got an example of a course summary that we use for our internal projects and for our client projects is course description, target participants, learning objectives, front and center on page 1, kind of a schedule at a glance, and then a quick snapshot of all of the modules that are going to be included in the course product. Principle number 2, courses are living entities. Expect and embrace multiple versions. To prepare for future iterations of the course, design your product or design your learning into chunks or modules. We call them modules. The learning modules will be much easier to review and revise. They also increase learner retention. Here's an example of a module plan. We use the module plans to guide development and to prepare the facilitator for delivery. So they're module plans. Some people call them lesson plans as well. So they have multi-purpose. The third principle. Well, let me say one more thing about modular structure. Encourage course innovation and a less cumbersome revision process. Now, at Lifecycle Engineering, we have what's called a community of practice, or CIPs. They help us update our courses with the latest and the cutting-edge info, and having a module plan where you can easily find different sections is very helpful. Now let's get to number 3, delivering working software frequently. I discussed an anecdote of a project I worked on earlier, and the project, I think, was a perfect example of a course design strangled by process. It had only a few project milestones spread months apart, and if you're delivering in pieces, using more frequent milestones, you can make sure you don't go too far without a check-in to your sponsor. So let's throw out a question to the audience. Let's have a poll. What is the primary measure of progress or success for a training course? Although some of these options may look similar, I'm looking for the primary measure. Oh, I like it. Some people use a check mark too. Participants change their behavior. Wow, a lot of people. I must have some active training folks out there who know what I'm talking about. So we will get the results right here in a second. Before those come up, I do want to stress that all the options listed here are positive and desirable, but as many of you already decided, and by a large margin, 89%, even on the poll, and then a ton on the slide, you guys know that the true measure of learning is that people actually do things differently at the office. Their job becomes easier or better per what they learn. So let's continue making the connections between the principles related to product. Principle number 4, working software is the primary measure of progress. In the learning world, and for any learning projects, the primary measure would be what we answered in the question earlier, that participants use the training. Second is technical excellence, and good design for a course product means staying true to the learning objectives, incorporating active training methods and adult learning into the class. The last one, keep courses simple and focused by concentrating on the need to know. Forget the nice to know. Too much information not directly related to relevant learning objectives only crowds and confuses the brain. Another way to simplify the facilitator's job and to increase learner retention is to design in places for the participant to do some work. As the great facilitator and personal hero of mine, Doug McCallum from the Bob Pike Group says, never do for the participant what they can do for themselves. So what do you think? Do you think people sent to training use the knowledge they experience back on the job? I'd like to take this question on average and from your experience. Use a check mark if you like to show your opinion. So good. It looks like on the whole the audience is hopeful and sure that the training that they're incorporating into their programs is being effective. Could you chat a few examples of that? Why do you think that the training that you are either sending people to or that you attend yourself is actually used in changing people's behavior to produce results in your experience? And you can just send those in the chat. We'll keep those rolling in the chat, and we will kind of call out to them as we progress here. Why do you think training that you send your people to is more effective? So we see that project-based principles are about how to manage the content and the activities within the project. But what about the project team? A course development project team is normally a designer and a subject matter expert, maybe some additional learning staff and client sponsors. So let's move on to the principles about team. And these two images demonstrate a couple of principles. They're very similar, and they refer to communication. One principle states that stakeholders and developers must work together daily throughout the project. The other states that the most effective communication is done face-to-face. Like any project, communication is key to course design success. When I have a ready, immediate access to an SME, the project can be sped up by a factor of 2. However, this isn't always feasible. And with today's technologically advanced environment, we have so many more options to communicate when face-to-face isn't possible. So I see, back to our chat, it looks like we have Diren, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, says that when training that he either sends people to or attends is effective is if it's based on a real business need or a gap. That's another reason why we use that course summary in the beginning of our design process, is to prove that connection between content and business results. Now let's talk about other principles related to team. Build your projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. Now, when you're choosing a course development partner, company, or deciding on a course development team within your company, work with course designers who are fluent in active training methodologies and adult learning principles. Avoid designers who languish in lecture-based death by PowerPoint delivery or design. And from the responses today, I don't think any of those people are on this webinar. What I am going to say is that we do have a great high-impact learning resource, and I'm going to give you a link to at the end of the session. And it describes, how we approach active learning, and it definitely brings these terms to life. Another principle: the best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. Make sure the course design teams have some autonomy. Teams with the ability to make creative decisions, even in an environment of strict design standards, i.e. Government course design, they'll create faster than those with no autonomy. Another principle, this principle echoes a principle we discussed in project-based principles. It touts the spirit of continuous improvement. At regular intervals, the team should reflect on how to become more effective, then tune and adjust its behavior. Development teams shouldn't only challenge themselves, but have regular product reviews to ensure that the products are delivering the same value for customers. The last principle related to team is that agile processes promote sustainable development. Last year's Talent Management State of the Industry report stated, for the foreseeable future, competitive advantage will be derived from employee know-how. The majority of a company's worth is tied to employee performance. So if we develop effective training, we improve intellectual capital, thereby maintaining competitive advantage. Remember that learning is a process and not just an event. For sustainable results, as we mentioned earlier, learners should have the opportunity to experiment with their newfound skills. And the high-impact learning resource that we'll mention at the end of the session talks about this fact even more. Now that we've discussed the principles of the project and the product, or the project and the people, let's discuss what to look for in a course development project. In no more than 3 words, how would you describe a successful course development project? And I know that'll take a little bit of time because you have to think of the 3 words. On-time delivery? Absolutely, especially if the business reasons for searching out the training have already been defined and it's a timely issue for the market, then definitely. Encourages learning. Challenges need, aligned to needs, aligned to business needs. Actually, that was much more eloquent than I tried to put it earlier. Students understand content. Exactly. There needs to be a reason for all of that content. That's where the need to know comes from, on time and on budget. How many times have you had a course development project go out of scope and force more money and time to be spent on it than it needs to be? I like this last one, on time, in budget, meets goals. It's important to define those goals. That is another reason why we begin the course development process with a course summary. So we'll move along now. What do we need? And this is in response to the question that I asked just a second ago, what's a successful course development project? We need them to be produced rapidly, designed for effectiveness, easy to modify, and easy to deliver. So what are we going to look for? Well, in a course development partner, we need to be acutely aware of balance, flexibility with a commitment to objectives and the need to know content while keeping an open mind about design changes to meet client needs, balancing the scope, schedule, and the budget. A partner focused on designing learning to produce results and easy maintainability is what we are looking for in a course development partner. We're looking for a partner that treats learning as a process but is committed to constant improvement and working closely with stakeholders. And by achieving this balance, we're going to achieve high impact learning. So let's do a little review. With regards to Agile development methodologies, the product highlights were focus on objectives, documentation that has structure but is flexible, and periodic product reviews. For the team highlights, focus on active training, focus on adult learning principles, and that there is a process for continual improvement within the team and some sort of structured process also for conducting those product reviews. I put the product reviews and continual improvement bullets in here because although a course may sometimes seem to be a self-sustaining entity, all courses should be looked at and hopefully observed periodically, not only in terms of material, but also in terms of how it's being delivered. If you're not keeping the content and delivery style fresh, then you risk the value and the credibility of the training you're providing. So it's important to invest the time, the effort, and the resources on continuous improvement activities. That concludes my presentation today. I would love it if you have any questions to go ahead and chat those in now because we still have a few minutes. Also, I'd like to point out a few of our courses that are going to be held frequently or upcoming courses. First of all, we have maintenance planning and scheduling. And since these are acronyms, I'll go ahead and read those out. And that's going to be in October here in Charleston. Reliability Engineering Excellence. Root Cause Analysis is RCA. And TTT is Train the Trainer. That is an active learning techniques course to help novice and seasoned facilitators. So I'd also like to type in a link to all of you, this is for the High Impact Learning resource, and you can go to that link and download that information. And hopefully, if you have any questions, you will let us know. Thank you very much for joining me today for this session. Again, if you have any questions, I'll be here until 1:30. Send them in the chat.